So it's like Christmas. My first 4K small screen printer. I'm super excited. It comes with the now standard budget plastic liftoff cover. This I don't like, but it might be saving us $100 on the machine, so we deal with it. The vat came in place, screwed in, boing. It is metal. Unfortunately, I don't see any markings on the sides for, I would have liked to see some markings for resin levels. I do not see any unless I'm missing it, so I would have liked to have seen that. It comes with standard now, I think most printers standard to have tape around the LCD screen, which is good. From looking at this, it will probably fit my standard resin vats that go with the Mini, which is good. They'll be interchangeable. It's got a nice, very stable Z-rod. That's great. We like that. Build plate is the 4-screw system, which I love. Very easy to level. And for those people out there, if it matters, I'm going to do a review of the Wham Bam build plate coming up. It's a product I've been using for months, actually. It's not an ad for Wham Bam. I actually like the product. And in that video, I'll explain why 4-screw leveling system is even better, because if you use a product like Wham Bam, which adds on, you don't need to mess with your Z-axis because you can just mess with these screws instead, which is really easy. So 4-screw leveling system, PHROZEN, good job. This is the best leveling system in my opinion. Ball jointed Elegoo uses, not as good in my opinion. Still not terrible, but I do like the 4-screw leveling system, so I'm glad. The slope on the build plate, I kind of wish, okay, so here's one thing where I'm going to be a little critical. Two things on the machine so far. One, we know this has a Z-axis, a Z height, which is low. I think only 130. How much extra would it have cost to make this be 150? You know, it shouldn't be smaller build height than on a regular Sonic or, I'm sorry, a regular like Mars or Photon Repax. You know, this lower build height does bother me a little bit, but again, what I'm hyped about, and I'm hyped, is the 4K screen on a small printer because the extra resolution. But when I was talking about the build plate, what I'd also like to see on the build plate, I like the ones where this part is about ½ inch to an inch higher. And that way, the areas that you have to touch and hold never go into the resin. Like when you have a short one like this, resin's definitely going to be getting all up in here. You know, if you have the vat, you know, 3/4 full or anything for bigger print, you start with it fuller. The resin's going to be all over this. If it was up higher, you wouldn't have to deal with that. So PHROZEN, for future models, if you're out there watching this, please listen to me. Make this part taller. Make the Z a lot taller so you can get more height in the build, but also so you can have this part of the plate be a little taller. I think that'd be better. Power switch is in the back, fan is in the back. USB port is backside. So again, you don't lose much points for this PHROZEN, but it's a lot more convenient for people printing if it's on the front side. It's just a little easier than back here. This is not terrible, but to me it's not optimal. But you guys know the meat and potatoes of this review is going to be, what does a 4K screen give us in terms of prints? But still, I need to talk about all this other stuff in case it matters to people. I know actually for some people that Z height limitation might actually be off-putting. Of course, it comes with the funnel, comes with the standard scraper, the gloves, the USB. Let's just check the USB, because recently what's been nice is that all the USBs I've been getting from these newer machines have all been branded. And this is a SanDisk, so at least, you know, the first thing I used to have to do on older model printers was throw out the USB stick because they all suck. But at least it's a real brand. And then, of course, it comes with the power. Now, also, this another little knock, PHROZEN, there's a little knock on you guys, sorry. I actually prefer the power supply to be the big brick that has a normal plug on it and then plugs into this machine, because this takes up too much space for me. So I'd rather be a normal plug going into the brick and then back out to the machine. Again, not a big deal, but this is not my favorite kind of power supply. But anyway, that's it for my machine breakdown. What I'm gonna do, and this is the first time doing this, I'm gonna do this on all the new monoscreen printers I test to test the light source. I decided I'm just going to print like a flat square that covers basically the whole plate. And by printing just one big flat piece, we should be able to see if there's any hot spots on the lighting. I'm also going to run the printer without the vat in the dark and try to show you guys how the light source looks. Because I think on this next gen, my reviews before, I didn't take into account, I don't think, enough the light source and the quality of the distribution of light. So this time around, I'm going to rectify that. And on every printer I get to test, I'm going to test that light source, because all these printers, I think in the end, it's going to be like last generation. They're going to have the same resolution. When other people come out with their 4K printer, it's all going to be the same resolution, the same maybe basic components even, like the last gen was. So what's going to differentiate people might be how good is their light source. So I'm going to start focusing on the light source. So anyway, that's it for the basically unboxing and the initial look at the machine. So I'm going to now disappear for a couple of days, again, for you guys, snap of the finger, and then come back with my test prints, comparisons, high-res photos, and probably I'll have shaved my face, hopefully. So that's it. See you. Well, I'll see you guys in a second, I guess. So I've done my test printing for about, I guess, 30 hours straight. I made a very honest video about the ePax X1K last month, saying it's the best prints I ever got, which was true. But I have to say, in all honesty, PHROZEN just leapfrogged everyone by putting out a small 4K printer. Results that I've gotten, and I'll start floating pictures around my head, but at the end of this video, I'm going to show these super zoomed in. Results were stunning. These are, I can say it clearly, the best prints I've ever gotten now. I will have side-by-side comparisons in those photos at the end with the X1K, which is an amazing printer, but it's a 2K screen, and you're going to see in the close-up pictures that a 4K screen beats a 2K screen. Just so everyone knows, PHROZEN's not paying me to make this video. They didn't even give me the printer to review it. I paid for the printer, so I'm not even getting a free printer out of it. So, like, if you want to trust the integrity of my reviews, I'm always honest, but just in case you doubt, I'm not getting anything for doing this review. So before you think I'm a PHROZEN fanboy, because actually ePax is my favorite company. But PHROZEN, this is a home run. It's a $300 machine that prints, I've just seen these pictures, print just amazing detail. And I think, for good painters or even mediocre painters like me alike, this extra detail and extra crispness, it makes it easier to paint a figure. When a tiny little belt buckle is very clearly defined and very easily seen and has sharper edges, it's easier, to hit it with your paintbrush than it's kind of mushed into everything. So I really think this is going to help both, professional painters and, just like painters like me, even just to get tabletop ready. In my opinion, having cleaner, crisper prints, I hope everyone thinks the same thing. Cleaner, crisper, more detailed print is easier to paint. So, and if you don't paint them, like my mounting pile of shame, well, it just looks better if it's crisper and cleaner, right? So I think PHROZEN, hit it out of the park. I can't talk about longevity of the machine. Obviously, I just got it. None of us will know for a few months how these hold up. Do the screens really last 2,000 hours or don't they? Also coming up, I'll float it in my head right now. Also, I'll have a close-up of what the light looks like when it's on, so you can judge for yourself whether you think the light looks even or not. To me, it looked like pretty even distribution of light. Again, you'll see, I didn't do a scientific test. I actually took the vat out and filmed the machine running as best I could, so we could look at the light. I also looked at it, put my sunglasses on and checked it out, and the lighting looked pretty good to me. Maybe some engineer will take this thing apart and give us a better read on how the lighting works. But again, you guys know what I'm all about. I'm all about getting the best prints I can get, and this machine did it. So the Sonic 4K is, to me, it's top of the heap right now. What I can't believe, I know it might just be an introductory price, but I think it's $300, right? I'll double check that. I think $300, that's unbelievable for a machine that can output like this. Crazy. Plus, for anyone who doesn't have a mono screen yet, if you don't have the Sonic Mini or the ePax X1K, or if you didn't know about them, these mono screens also print, forget what they advertise, like 1 second layers, and that's not happening. The results I'm getting that you're seeing were 0.04 millimeter layer height, and I'll also post my settings. 0.04 millimeter layer height with 3-second layers. And if you were doing, I also did 0.02 millimeter layer height, and then I went down to 2-second exposure. Once, if you use really fast resin and maybe you're printing 1 millimeter height, you might get down to a second or close to it. But realistically, most people are at probably 0.03, 0.04, or a lot of people at 0.05. You're not getting 1-second layer height, so don't believe that hype. But you'll be between 2 and 3 seconds, depending whether you use a slow resin, like I use the PHROZEN, which, as you can see from the pictures, holds detail amazing. It's a great resin. I am going to test the 4K resin. To me, that sounds like marketing hype, but it's just probably just a slow resin like the PHROZEN or the Soraya Sculpt is my guess. Slower resins, less susceptible to the light bleed, give you more accurate prints. So that's what I'm expecting out of the 4K resin from PHROZEN, which I'm going to test over the next few days. And after I test that for a few days, I'll post a video of that resin test, but I didn't use it yet. I'm just using the PHROZEN because I knew from using my PHROZEN X1K, the PHROZEN was going to give me fantastic results, and it did. I mean, that resin really delivered on this machine. So I'll be interested to see what the 4K resin does versus that, and I'll do more comparisons. But for this machine, let me talk about the only thing, there's only one issue I had with the machine. So you guys know I said at the beginning of this video, and I say it in all my review videos, my preferred method of leveling is the build plate like this had, like I showed you guys with the 4 screws. When you go to level, you just loosen them all up so the plate's loosey-goosey. You put it on, you hit home, it goes down, it gently settles into place. You hold it in place, you tighten the 4 screws. On this, when I went to do that, when I loosened my 4 screws, I found that the part that attaches the build plate to the top of the build plate holder was machined so tight that even after I loosened the screws almost all the way out, I had to work to get it up and down. In fact, and then I looked, it was so tight that the metal was rubbing against each other. There was a lot of friction. That's why I couldn't move freely like it was supposed to. I actually started pressing off my hand to see what force it took to move it up with the screws loose. It was taking so much force. I was afraid if I did what I was supposed to do, which is loosen the 4 screws all the way, put it on the arm and let it drop down, that because it wouldn't move, as it dropped, it wouldn't settle. I was afraid it was going to go through my LCD screen. So what I actually did when I leveled, because I was scared, I loosened the 4 screws and I had to push the build plate part of it up against the top. And then when it homed, it was above the paper. I gently had to work it down onto the paper. And when I got it there, then I held it in place and did the 4 screws. So I don't know if everyone's is going to be machined the way mine was. But I talked to Uncle Jesse, and I think he had the exact same problem, but he's going to do a review video, and you can watch and see. I'm pretty sure he told me that he had the same issue. The build plate was really stiff on there, and it was hard to level because of that. You have to be careful. So everyone just check. When you loosen if you get this machine, when you loosen the 4 screws on the build plate, make sure it's really wiggly, loosey-goosey before you put it on and hit that set Z button. If it's machined stiff like mine was, I would recommend you do what I do. Push it, after you loosen the screws, push it all the way up, and it'll stick if it was like mine. And then after it homes down, work that plate back down gently onto the LCD, to this paper that's on the LCD, and then hold it in place and tighten the screws. So aside from that little nitpicky thing, well, maybe it's not so nitpicky, because if someone new got this machine and didn't realize when they loosen the screws, the plate should be really loose, they might drive it through their LCD screen, actually. So maybe I should be making a bigger deal of it than I am. But aside from that, the machine prints amazing. That's what I'm all about. I'll put up with little nitpicky stuff if I can get awesome prints, which is what I got. Now, the other nitpicky thing, which will depend on what size stuff you like to print, it's got, and this is driving me crazy because I think it's coming out on all the machines, the Z height is limited to 130. On all our old gen machines, it was 150 millimeters. Now it's down to 130. I actually don't understand. The mono screen itself should have nothing to do with Z height. Why they're limiting to 130 instead of 150. I'm not sure how much money they're saving by doing that, but I think that's a mistake because, for certain prints, you need that Z height. There are prints occasionally that I can't fit on my Sonic Mini, and now I won't be able to fit them on my Sonic Mini 4K. So I do wish these companies will all go back and make sure they give us back at least that 150 millimeter in Z height. I don't know how much extra it costs to build that into the machine. I can't imagine it's that much of an incremental cost. So that's the other little nitpicky thing. If you're printing bigger stuff, this may not be the printer for you. But for anyone who's printing miniatures, like that's what I do mostly. If you're printing miniatures, it's the best machine you can get right now. And like I said, I think I'll float it, I'll check it and put it in the box. I think it's only $300, which is to me insane for this quality. Just 6 months ago, all the regular machines were, $250 to $270, right? So to be able to get this one a little more expensive, but this high resolution like this and the faster printing speed and hopefully the longer LCD life, man, incredible. Like this is like Christmas for me all over again. This is great, man. The figures are, man, it's blowing me away how good it is. And I haven't even tried 0.01 millimeter yet, because I know with my human eye, and my eyes aren't that good anymore even, from naked eye, I have trouble telling between 0.04 and 0.02 until I, take my high-res photos. So 0.01 millimeter, maybe it does look better like under the microscope, but I'm sure I won't be able to tell with my eyes. So that's why I only went down to 0.02. I know there's no way that I could personally discern any difference, I don't think. But I guess that's it for the review. I mean, it's incredible. And to me, $300 is super cheap also. So this is like no-brainer pickup. If you don't have a printer and you want to get this one. If you have a printer and you're looking to upgrade, get this one. If you're looking to get an extra printer and you have the $300, get this one. Like, if you take money out of the equation, if you don't have $300, you don't have $300. But if you have $300, like, to order this machine. I actually don't see any reason if you print at all why you wouldn't get this machine. Great results. So instead of me blabbing more, let me go to those close-up high-res photos. I'll talk you through them. I have comparisons with the EPAX X1K. Now I feel bad for my EPAX because it's been my favorite for the last month, and all of a sudden it got leapfrogged. I mean, it's still a great printer, but the prints off this Sonic Mini 4K, it's honesty is honesty. It's better. And I'm going to show you in the comparisons where and how it's better, right? Because I did the same figures using the same resin at the same layer height. And it actually, because it's the mono screen, it actually was even the same exposure times worked on the Sonic Mini 4K as on my EPAX X1K. So the comparisons are very fair, and you'll see, I'll talk about it here, I'll talk about it again when I'm showing the pictures, but to try to make it an unfair test, I shrunk most of the prints down that I did on the Sonic Mini 4K. I shrunk them by 10 to 15% just to see if I shrunk them down, could a 4K printer beat a 2K printer when it shrunk down, where it should be harder to see the detail and lose the detail? And spoiler alert, you know from the rest of this review already, the Sonic Mini 4K, even with the figure shrunk down 15%, still showed better detail. It's crazy. So look at these pictures and you'll see, exactly what I'm talking about. And again, I know I've said it like probably 10 times this video, I'm gonna say it again. If you got the $300, quick, go order it before, like they go out of stock or something, and then you'll be kicking yourself because you can't get one. And you're gonna see me, and not just me, probably thousands of other people posting these like super high-res prints and looking awesome, and you're gonna have, printer envy. Don't have printer envy, it's not a good thing. So that's it. Hope you guys learned something today. If you want to see more reviews, more tests, stuff like that, I have, I'm going to test the 4K resin. I have other resin tests coming up, more printer reviews, everything. I have a Patreon. Please go and support my Patreon. That's the money I use to buy this printer. So the people who support me on Patreon, you're supporting directly me making these kind of videos, keeping my independence. A couple of companies have asked to sponsor me, and I have said no to all of them because I want to be able to bring you guys honest, unbiased reviews, which is what I do. So that's why I have no sponsors. So if you go and support me on Patreon, it makes it really easy for me to stay away from the sponsors too. So that's it. Let's look at some pictures, and you enjoy the beauty of these prints. If you like printing at all, you're gonna love these photos. Thanks, everybody. I don't think there's that much I really need to say as we're looking at these pics. Just drink in the details. When we get to the comparison pics, I'll start pointing some stuff out. But just, I mean, you can see every detail captured here. Look how crisp and clear these prints are. The machine just did a great job. And again, these prints were all shrunk down 15% from their normal size. So these are only at about a 28 millimeter scale. Look at the guns. Look at his pouch at his waist. You can even see the little twists on the rope there. Dwarf Cleric came out amazing. Dark Elf Ranger, detail phenomenal, so sharp. Got the Samurai Girl, and there's a tiny little pattern cut into her sword, which came out. Look how clear the ropes are. Now we get into some real comparison. So let's just focus the belt buckle here. You can see the difference. The smaller print on the left is the 4K. So print is shrunk down, and look how clear that belt buckle is. That's incredible. Now let's look at the Dragonborn, and where I circled the tabard and the teeth. We're going to zoom into the tabard. You can see everything's clearer, but there's on the one on the left, which is from the Sonic 4K, you can see the eye cut out and a little bit of the mouth. On the right, you can't see anything. Now we go into the Dark Elf Ranger, and again, overall, the one on the right, which is the Mini 4K, looks clearer. Now we zoom in and look at the belt buckle area. You can see it just captures every tiny little detail right down to the last minutia. And then this last print, this is actually at 0.04 millimeters. This was my initial test print. Just wanted to show you how good it looks even at 0.04 millimeters. So I hope you guys please subscribe, please support my tests and reviews. Thanks, and happy 3D printing, everyone.